Usually you're here.
All right.
How are you?
Good evening. My name is Scott Memhart. I am the Ward 1 Gloucester City Councilor and Chair of our Budget and Finance Committee for the City of Gloucester. And with us tonight is City Council President Tony Rose, Vice Chair of the Council of the Committee, and Councilor at Large Jeff Worthley.
Hello.
And we have Lyons Jones, Clerk of Committees, Legislative Aide, and Connor McCorkle, CFO. And is it anybody else online that we need to recognize?
Connolly and Lauren Orlando.
Okay, so Chief Connolly and Lauren Orlando. Great. So we'll go ahead and take things as they're posted. This meeting is public. Public is welcome. We're here in person on the first floor of City Hall in the conference room, and the meeting is also accessible by Zoom with a link as posted. And
Do you want to consider Chief Connolly and Mr. Orlando in terms of taking things out of order?
sure,
I don't wanna-
no, that makes good sense. Chief, if we can do anything to move you along, that we'll be happy to do that. We have actually two items, I think, from you tonight.
Good evening, councilors. I'm trying to get my. Here we go.
Sorry to rush you there.
I'm glad I knew I only had a few seconds left before you moved on in the agenda. But tonight I have two things. One is a donation made to Community Impact Unit by the Open Door in the amount of $500 for their various community initiatives. And then the second one would be, do you mind if I go through both of them at the same time? Okay.
Please do, Chief.
The second one is our annual state 911 training grant in the amount of $96,856.26. This grant comes from the state. This, as you may recall, is a standard grant that we receive to maintain our training, state mandated training requirements for our 911, also known as a PSAP. There's no match from the city.
Sounds excellent. Councilors, any questions? Go ahead and read both of the motions as presented. Item number 4 on our agenda is the memorandum from our police chief requesting acceptance of a donation from the Open Door in the amount of $500 with a committee recommendation. That Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council accept a cash donation under Mass General Law 4453A to support the Police Department and Community Impact Unit programs and activities in the amount of $500. And it's from the Open Door and the amount is $500, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And then the second item from the police department is a memorandum from our police chief as described, requesting our acceptance of a fiscal year 2026 state 911 training grant. The amount is $96,856.26. And Budget and Finance would move to recommend that the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A a state grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, a fiscal year 2026 911 State 911 Department Training Grant Program in the amount of $96,856.26. The grant period is from September 4th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And there is no local match for this grant, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? These are both, this one's a routine item, and the Open Door is much appreciated. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All in favor, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. You're great.
Thank you very much, councilors. Appreciate it. And yeah, another just a special thank you to Open Door for the generous donation. I hope you guys have a good night.
Did you catch that speedster?
Not that I know of, not as of this very moment that I'm aware. No. But we have a lot of good tips that we're working on.
So
I was gonna
horrific
match.
description of speeding in downtown. So we're lucky that nobody was hurt.
Very true.
Thank you.
Number 6, I think that would be the one for Lauren Orlando.
Yes.
Essentially.
Lauren, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and take you next, just to get your evening moved on. If that's all right. We have a memorandum from you as DPW Financial Manager requesting payment of a fiscal year 2025 invoice with fiscal 2026 funds. And the amount is $11,532.77. And to what do we owe this?
So there's actually 12 invoices. 3 of them, I just didn't carry over enough funds. They're estimated for the parking kiosk transactions and bioxide for the pump station. And so I just didn't have enough carried over for that. And then 7 of them are from City Elevator, who is notorious at late billing. And so I was unaware of those invoices. And then 2 of them they were dated in July, but the services were performed in June.
Makes sense. For better or for worse, it's always hard to keep on top of these fiscal year end billing issues. Are there any councilor questions?
Laura, if you ever figure out how you can pay a bill that you don't receive, you'd be the first one ever. So I can understand that you can't pay for something you don't receive. The only question is, we did money on the ones that you had to carry over. Does that have a different impact on this year's budget?
What it means is I can use the money that I carried over and I only need the balance of the invoice for this year's budget. So for example, the parking kiosk invoice is for a total of $1,488.25. And I carried over $1,084.44. So I only need to use $403.81 from FY 26's budget.
So you carried over the expense and the revenue side, and there's just a small delta between the two. Is that right?
And no, I carried over enough money, all on the expense side, nothing with revenues. So in other words, I had a PO in place and the PO has funds left available of $1,488, but the bill, or I'm sorry, $1,084, but the bill came in at $1,488. So I need another 403.
I understand. And you couldn't pay the first bulk of that in last year. You gotta pay the whole thing altogether, right? So
It makes more sense to do it that way, yeah. To me.
makes sense to me too.
Any questions? No. Okay, Lauren, I'll just go ahead. We go through the motions. It seems like a routine budget adjustment. Budget and Finance would move to recommend that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 4464, approve payment of a prior year invoice and obligation from Flowbird America, provided a municipal parking app for the purpose of paying an invoice as outlined by the DPW Financial Manager, memo dated September 3, 2025, for the invoice dated July 22nd, 2025, for services provided for the period of June 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2025, with a total of $1,488.25 paid with available funds from the fiscal year 2026 DPW budget. And I so move.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And then the next part of this would be move to recommend that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 4464, approve payment of prior year invoice and obligation from Evoqua Water Technologies, provided bioxide for pump stations for the purpose of paying an invoice as outlined by the DPW Financial Manager in the memo dated September 3, 2025, for the invoice dated June 30th, 2025, for a total of $8,602, and this is to be paid with available funds from the fiscal year 2026 DPW budget, and I so move.
Second.
Further discussion on that one? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, Budget and Finance recommends the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 4464, approve payment of a prior year invoice and obligation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Fire Services, provided boiler inspection certificates for the purpose of paying an invoice as outlined by the DPW financial manager in a memo dated September 3, 2025, for the invoice dated May 8th, 2025, for a total of $850 to be paid with available funds from the fiscal year 2026 DPW department budget. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next up, Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 4464, approve payment of prior year invoice and obligation from Amazon Business, who provided various retail goods for the purpose of paying invoices as outlined by the DPW financial manager in her memo dated September 3, 2025, for the invoice dated June 7th, 2025, for a total of $150.83 to be paid with available funds for the fiscal year 2026, from the fiscal year 2026 DPW budget, department budget. And I so move.
Second.
Further discussion? Excuse you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And then the next item is a committee recommendation. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 4464, approve payment of 6 prior year invoices from the City Elevator Company for elevator maintenance for the purpose of paying the following invoices to be paid with fiscal year 2026 DPW budgeted funds for a total of $8,425. And there are 6 invoices listed. And again, the total is $8,425. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And then the final item here is a committee recommendation. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 4464, approve payment of 2 prior year invoices from Richardson Electrical for work related to the city sewer for purposes of paying the following invoices to be paid with fiscal year 2026 DPW budgeted funds for a total of $1,913.13. And I so move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Is that it for you, Lauren? Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Thank you for your clear
Thank you.
presentation and your homework and presenting that. It makes it very easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless anyone has another suggestion, we'll go back to the beginning.
Sorry. Thank you.
No, appreciate it. So item number 1 is a memorandum from the Veteran Services Director requesting our acceptance of donations to support the Cape Ann Veteran Services in the amount of $100. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council accept a cash donation under Mass General Law, Chapter 4453A, to support Veteran Services in the amount of $100 from the following members of our community, and that is Ed Camo. Thank you, Ed. Total is $100, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next item up is a memorandum from the Archives Committee requesting our acceptance of a donation in the amount of $100. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council accept a cash donation under Mass General Law, Chapter 4453A, to support the Archives Committee in the amount of $100 from the following members of our community, and that is Bruce H. Toby. Thank you, Bruce. The amount is $100, and I so move.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3 in the Budget and Finance Committee agenda tonight is a memorandum from the Director of Elder Services requesting our acceptance of donations to support the Gloucester Council on Aging and the Rose Baker Senior Center in the total amount of $1,325. Committee recommendation. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council accept various cash donations under Mass General Law, Chapter 4453A, to support Council on Aging programs and activities in the amount of $1,325 from the following members and business partners in our community, whom are West Gloucester Trinitarian Congregational Church, Judith McCulloch. Thank you, Judith. Barbara Black, Michelle Shimataro, Marilyn Grant, Paige Parisi, Margaret Rao, Victoria Marrow, Ed Fisher, Jane Jackson, for a total of $1,325, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? Thanks to all of those donors, their support for our veterans. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
That was for the senior center, not veterans. right?
Thank you.
Could be veterans. Senior center.
That was for the senior center. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Appreciate it. Item number 7 on our agenda, jumping back to our place. There's a memorandum from the chief financial officer. Thank you. We're requesting our payment of fiscal year 2024 invoices with fiscal year 2026 funds in the amount of $7,219.34. The Budget and Finance Committee moves to recommend the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 4464, approve payment of 2 prior year invoices from the Public Consulting Group for Medicaid third-party recovery for the purpose of paying the following invoices to be paid with fiscal year 2026 general fund, treasurer, and collectors budget funds for a total of $7,219.34, and there are 2 invoices noted, and I so move.
Second,
Made and seconded.
quick question.
Councilor Worthley.
All of you doing this, I've seen invoices from the prior fiscal year being paid in the next fiscal year. I haven't seen ones from 2 fiscal years before that. The dates on here, I thought I saw February date, maybe
In June,
in June, so.
we're dealing with Medicaid.
We got the invoice though.
So John got the invoice. That was the trouble. So then John does it.
Enough said.
Bucks. Yeah.
Enough said.
So when I paid this year's, they said, hey, you know, you have 2 from the prior year.
So John died with that invoice in hand?
He did.
Oh my goodness. John, good try.
I understand.
Good
Thank you.
question. Thank you. It's always nice to bring up John's name. I think there was an anniversary just this week for his birthday.
Yes, it was.
So can we approve that?
You can vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Item number 9. The memorandum from our chief financial officer, Connor McCorkle, regarding a loan order request for septic system improvement in the amount of $1 million. So just a little background, Connor?
Sure. So this helps replenish the budget for the septic loan program, which offers 0% interest loans to residents who have signed an agreement to upgrade their septic system or have received a failure notice from the Board of Health on their septic system. So it allows us to have a tool to keep people in compliance, and it gives them obviously a 0% interest rate. So we've used up funds that were appropriated, so this $1 million should get us through about another 2 years of the program.
Is there any other source of funding besides this type of a move?
No, so
Available?
originally it was funded by a grant. So we do this loan authorization, and then if we could get the financing through the Clean Water Trust, that comes obviously at a much reduced interest rate to the city. With the last couple, we've borrowed through the traditional bond channels, which gives you the market interest rate.
And the Clean Water Trust is a state or federally funded program?
That's a state-funded program. It may receive some originating funds from the federal government, but it's a state-funded initiative, and you apply to it to get on their intended use. The secondary water treatment plant obviously is our biggest one with the Mass Clean Water Trust right now.
I'd say that take good precedent.
It does.
Any other council questions?
Just
Councilor
one
Worthley?
question. Thank you for bringing this to us. I didn't know about this program and I love the idea of it. Just want to understand it. We borrow the money to replenish the funds that are used through, in some cases, it's people whose septic tanks have failed and they're under some sort of order to do it. And then what about someone who needs to upgrade but hasn't failed, or like, is it?
They can sign a voluntary upgrade agreement, and if they meet the income requirements for the program, they'd be eligible, and then they could take the loan as well.
My other question is going to be, are there qualifying?
There are, so let me double check, just, I believe it's 150,000 for the household, but I want to get that number right. Gross annual household income less than $150,000. And it's to be current on all your fees with the city.
And then we're charge, the cities charge an interest rate,
Around 3%. If it's through the Clean Water Trust, it'd be more like 2.
so basically, we're helping and subsidizing. But we're also, because of septic saying upgraded, there's a community value in that too, so.
Right.
Someone had the option to be on sewer, that we wouldn't replace their septic tank.
If they have an existing, if they have the ability to connect to sewer and they're on a septic system, the loan will allow you to connect into the city infrastructure as well.
Really?
Anything we can do to make the, bit more compliant.
And so does that become a sewer betterment at that point?
So we assess both of them like a betterment. So you'll get approved for the loan, we open up a purchase order in your name, you're reimbursed for any expenses, and then right around now, this time of year, we assess it as a betterment, payable over 10 years.
And this isn't credit dependent. If you own a house, if you own a property, you could qualify.
Correct.
Income qualify.
Yep.
And then two more questions. Part of this, because I'm just fascinated by this, you said there was I've read, I can't remember, an uptick in the requests, several new inquiries for assistance are pending. Are we at a point where whoever runs this program is at a zero balance and they can't do more, or they're just getting lower?
We are at a zero balance right now, so we've used all the appropriated funds, so anyone that's applied is now on a hold status pending further appropriation. We've seen an uptick, but a lot of times what really drives the uptick is word of mouth. So neighbors find out, they tell their neighbor, and then before you know it, the whole neighborhood's
Right.
coming in for the loan program.
And then without knowing how many homes does $1 million cover?
I would roughly estimate, because the costs have gone up quite a bit, it would do about 65 homes. That would be my very rough estimate.
It's a nice program we have.
Well, clean water.
Since 2013, it's issued 124 loans, including 66 for the $2 million.
Right, so 66 loans from 2 million.
Yeah.
So it's like 33 for $1 million.
Yeah, we've had a couple really large ones in this last, we had someone that was almost $150,000.
So there's no limit. This work also for new development?
No, because they wouldn't have a failed system.
I see.
You'd have to have a failed. So the idea here is that we're keeping the environment, obviously, cleaner.
So it needs to be a failed system to qualify. I said earlier, I
Or
asked,
they can voluntarily.
Or you can voluntarily, but usually if you're doing that, it's because your system is very close to failing.
I see.
So you have to have an existing system.
So we have an existing system and it's not yet failed, but it's like on the edge. You could potentially qualify,
Yep.
but a new development couldn't run a septic in this program.
Right. We've had some success, seniors will do it and they'll defer the loan. That does accrue interest, but it is a nice way for seniors to be able to stay in their home and be compliant.
So now that accrues interest with the other one
Mass
doesn't.
general law, 8% deferral rate, we can't waiver from it. So the betterment itself doesn't accrue interest,
Right.
but the deferral does.
Oh, and also aren't getting paid back the money, so we're just building up on
Right.
interest, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't. So we're eating the interest.
Yes, in all cases, yep.
Although we're actually making money on the deferral.
Wouldn't probably outweigh what we're paying, but yes, we're making some money back on the.
Paying
deferral.
free.
Yeah,
On those.
On those that are deferred. So can we see some of the budget? I've never noticed it under a certain specific category. The income from the betterments. These are in the sewer enterprise account or?
general fund.
The general. fund,
This is
not
general
sewer.
fund, so you'll see the principal payment down in the principal section where we pay back these loans, and then you'll see the revenue. we can pull it in from the tax bill.
Just under revenue, because,
Yep, transfers in.
well, I see. So that money doesn't go to reimburse the city on the loan, it goes to the general fund.
Goes to the general fund, which is making the bond payment.
Got it.
So basically we do a one-to-one.
I understand, everything I need to know about this program now, thank you.
No, good clarifying questions. Thank you, Councilor
Appreciate
Woodley.
it.
Anything else, Councilor Coast? No. If that's the case, I will move to recommend that the city council approve the loan order as follows. Ordered that $1 million is appropriated for the purpose of financing the following project: repair, replacement, and or upgrade of septic systems pursuant to agreements between the Board of Health and the residential property owners, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow $1 million and issue bonds or notes therefore under general law, chapter 111, 127B and 1/2, and or chapter 90, that's 29C, it's 29C of the general laws, or any other enabling authority that project and financing costs shall be repaid by the property owners in accordance with those agreements, but such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the city, and that the mayor and any other appropriate city official are authorized to expend all funds available for the projects and to take up any such action, any other action necessary or convenient to carry out the projects. Any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with chapter 44, section 20 of general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under chapter 44A of the general laws, any or all of the bonds authorized by this order, and to provide such information to execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes. And I so move.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, any further discussion?
Thank you for answering all the questions.
No.
Appreciate it.
All
I
those-
wrote that loan order too. That's equally,
I was gonna say, that was pretty well written.
That's not a Kenny?
no, I write those ones.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The next item is a memorandum from our chief financial officer, and there are five parts to this. And it's number 2026 SA number 1 in the amount of $78,200. Number 2026 SA number 2 in the amount of $110,000. 2026 SA number 3 in the amount of $32,210. 2026 SA number 4 in the amount of $57,790, and 2026 supplemental appropriation number 5 in the amount of $100,000 to the Department of Public Works. Any background we need to have for these?
So there's one outlier, the highway force account transfer. I just grouped that in with this one because it was also a DPW request. But it's to move money from the DPW highway force account to their operating budget.
Mhm.
For shade tree assessments and some curb ramp inventory. And then the other ones, a request from the Building Maintenance Stabilization Fund for Rose Baker. So one of the requests is to make an existing generator project whole. We appropriated money for a generator at the Rose Baker Senior Center before we did the roof project. Now that the roof project is done, they're ready to install the generator, but the cost of the generator and everything else has gone up since that initial appropriation. The second Rose Baker request is for the replacement of a grease trap. They had to do an emergency off-hours replacement. And then the third one is moving money from an existing project within the Building Maintenance Stabilization Fund that is not needed anymore to a general various city facilities line, so that the DPW in a very tight budget year can do maintenance on various city buildings. And I should say all of these building maintenance stabilization requests, they're not appropriating new funds. We're taking funds from existing projects that are no longer needed and moving them to new lines. We're trying to be really conscious not to appropriate any new money whenever we don't have to. So Warren was a big help reconciling this fund. We figured out where we had the flexibility.
Saying we're not taxing any of the stabilization accounts at all.
No, so we're taking something that's already been appropriated and just
Right.
taking it out because those funds were no longer needed, just put it in a new line. It's really just using some cleanup funds to do some projects.
That's it.
I would, before I go ahead and read the motions, I'll just make the observation, give a curious typo that cropped up that spell check didn't catch, that the word building in the second, in two places in the second one and in the third one and in the fourth one in one place is missing the D. I don't know how spell check let that get by, but otherwise we're boiling, which is sort of sounds like spitting on it, expressing bile. So I'll go ahead and read these motions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Connor. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 1 in the amount of $78,100 from the DPW Highway Force receipts reserved for appropriation transfers to the general fund account number as noted to the general fund DPW Public Services Purchase of Services account number as noted to fund a curb, there's a typo there too, a curb, ramp inventory and shade tree inventory. So curb, ramp inventory and shade tree inventory, both of which are much appreciated by our constituents. And I so move.
Second.
Any other question or clarification? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 2 in the amount of $110,000 from the Building Stabilization Fund, GHS Heat Exchanger, building with a D again, improvements account number as noted. The building now spelled correctly, the hopscotch. From the Building Stabilization Fund, Council on Aging, emergency generator, to be building, improvements account number is noted to fund the Council on Aging generator replacement, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion aside from the spelling corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2026 SA 3 in the amount of $32,210 from the Building Stabilization Fund, GHS Heat Exchanger. Building improvements, account number is noted to the Building Stabilization Fund, Council on Aging, grease trap, building improvement, account number as noted. This is to fund replacement of the Rose Baker Senior Center grease trap, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? I just wonder why if the seniors are eating healthfully enough that the kitchen at the senior center generates a problem in the grease traps.
Should be that kind of backup.
You wouldn't think.
It's the whole.
As somebody who's familiar with grease traps.
The replacement of plastic too.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 4 in the amount of $57,790 from the Building Stabilization Fund, Gloucester High School Heat Exchanger, make that building improvements, account number is noted to the Building Stabilization Fund, various city facilities, building improvements, account number is noted to fund various maintenance and improvements across all city buildings. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And finally, Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 5 in the amount of $100,000 from the Building Stabilization Fund Energy Control Software Building Improvements, account number as noted, to the Building Stabilization Fund, various city facilities, building improvements, account number as noted. And this is to fund various maintenance and improvements across all city buildings, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
How long were these things hanging around?
About 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I think 2019 was one of the dates we saw in the original energy or the heat pump one. But they're definitely long since
Heat
complete.
exchanger one.
Yeah, the heat exchanger.
Any other discussion? Any other questions?
Do you have a methodology to sweep's the wrong word, but like check on these old authorizations.
Yeah, that's been a big push this year for the loan orders too. So we're starting to reconcile them a little more closely than we have in the past, just
No,
because.
there's no automated
No,
showing all the loan authorizations and transfers over $1 million.
yeah, I mean, we can query it out of the system, but it takes a little bit of finessing to get it, to a usable point. So we're starting to do that now. Lauren's been great at the DPW to do that,
I thought that was a simple AI request.
but maybe in a couple months.
Okay, moving along, the next item on our budget and finance agenda this evening is a memorandum from the city auditor, Kenny Costa, requesting our acceptance of the MEMA response to the COVID-19 public health emergency grant reimbursement, and this is in the amount of $26,360. And here you would, oh, there you are.
Yes. Good evening, counselors.
Welcome.
I apologize for all the Biling typos. I thought I got them all. I guess I missed a call.
Connor took complete responsibility for them. He absolved you of any.
I apologize for that. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate it.
As long as your numbers are right, we're fine.
Yeah,
Well, that's my main focus is the numbers, the account numbers, and the obviously the dollar amounts. Though that's usually my main focus.
well, we're going to add biling to the spell check as a acceptable word.
Absolutely. Regarding the grant, this would be the last reimbursement. If you recall, I believe it was in the spring. That's where there was several votes of the COVID-19 through the state, and also the FEMA passed through the MEMA reimbursements. This is the final. This is the consultant, the oversight that helped prepare the FEMA reimbursements, because it's a very technical, it's a niche. I mean, it's something that I didn't have a lot of experience, so they were very helpful. So this is between that time frame, between March 27, 2020 to May 16th, we were able to submit these expenses for reimbursement, which totaled to $26,360. The state side, I was able to work on that and submit that to the state. That didn't require, it wasn't as technical and as difficult, but my concern with the FEMA reimbursements, I know it was a one-time shot. So everything that was submitted, it had to be perfect. And I just didn't have the expertise. So I thought this was money well spent, so that we could receive the reimbursements for the FEMA for the COVID. But this will be the last one. I don't see any other expenses. We've gone through everything. We've combed through everything. This would be the final one. And
Some
that's
questions.
Sounds pretty final.
It sounds, I mean, I can't imagine it'd be more
No.
2019 or more FEMA money or anything like that federally, so.
no. And actually, it was interesting with this. They initially told me it was approved, and then they said that they needed to look at it again a second time. So there was a delay. I want to say there was about a 3-month delay. They looked at it again. They had more questions. We answered them, and then they approved it again. And I wasn't sure if we were done, but they sent the funds to us. So I thought, so I was a little concerned for a little bit. So I'm glad that we did see this through, and then we're able to receive these funds. But we do have, this money is already in our bank account. We have
Okay.
this money.
Great. If there are no other questions, move to recommend that the city council accept under Mass General Law, Chapter 4453A, a federal grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, passed through the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, MEMA, from the FEMA DR 4496 COVID-19 in the amount of $26,360 for assistance with management costs. The grant period is from March 27th, 2020 through May 16th, 2025, with no local match required, and I so move.
Second,
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor? All right. Excellent. So the final item is your memorandum, Kenny, regarding accounts with expenditures exceeding their authorization and any other related auditor business.
Yep, not much has changed since the last report from the September 18th report. last time was 16, now it's 19 accounts. Unfortunately, the amount did increase by about $85,000. But this is about, typically where, the majority of this is the Council on Aging. As you know, there's the formula grant that usually comes in sometime during the fiscal year, usually typically somewhere between January and March. The other amount is as you know, is the solid waste related to the work stoppage. But everything else is pretty typical at this time of the fiscal year.
And I just assume that the administration will advise us in due course regarding any success through the legal system in terms of reimbursement for the public services costs imposed on the city.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out. I'm not sure if we'll be able to transfer some of the contract, some of the vendor appropriation that was set aside to transfer this over to the salaries, but I guess we'll be able to determine that at a later date.
Started to.
Yeah.
But those are two different things. That was a reimbursement from Republic was one question, and then you said appropriate contracted services in the budget. Those are almost,
There may be, if we successful with Republic, there would be extra money in the contract line
I
we
see.
could use to
Yeah, we
offset
okay.
the expenses.
I like one.
Yeah,
question.
we can't take monies from Republic and deposit in this expense account. So that would be considered like a reimbursement. That would go into general fund revenues. But we can take, monies that we set aside in the budget for the contract. We can transfer that from that account into this salary account. We can do that
Gotcha.
as an SBT.
Nice. Councilor Woodley, you had another
Yeah,
question?
one question. I would have anticipated that just by guessing, that the DPW expenses would be a lot higher than. We're $262,000 over in the overtime labor account. I think that would be the place where all this effort would be mostly captured there. I just figured it'd be a higher number, given that it was 82 days of a lot of work.
Right. Some of the overtime was not necessarily in this line. It may be recorded in their home department's line. So we've been keeping track of where it all lands, but it's definitely overspent more than $262,000
But it's not overspent enough to be in this.
in a deficit. Yeah.
Correct.
Because those have overtime budget,
I got it.
but they may have blown through much more than they normally would.
Or if they've spent some of it in this effort, they've not
Right.
okay,
Right.
I got it.
That-
Kenny, could you just help us too by commenting on the library salaries overage of some $870,000? Why does that pop up now? The encumbrance, and with $20,000 at the budget.
Yeah, that's my concern would be, and that's something I'd have to check with Jenny and Connor, is the encumbrance, the 866, if that is correct. I think we would have to. I mean, it was 22,000 last time. I don't know. I mean, that's something that I would have to talk to Jenny and Connor to see. I'm not sure if it's the encumbrance or perhaps this is something that popped up, but I'll have to check with them and see what that's related to.
If you could let us know next time, that would be helpful.
Will do.
Yeah, one more question.
Yeah.
So we may all be thinking the same question and everyone's glad I asked it, or I could be the stupid one by asking a stupid question. I just gotta ask. Some of these have encumbrances, some don't have encumbrances, but they're in the overdrawn line items anyway, or overdrawn accounts, right? So on the library, we're only 3 months into the year. So when they've encumbered salary expenses of $866,000, they haven't spent that, because that would be an actual expenditure. Why is that different than the other ones have nothing in them, in those encumbrance lines?
So the ones that are like the salaries, that is projected. So those are employees. So some of these others like workers' comp or like longevity, that's not encumbered. It's not because it's not ongoing. It's not every pay period. That's typically like a one time, or maybe a couple times during the fiscal year. So the library salary is a reoccurring expense, or it's a reoccurring payroll charge. So that's the reason we encumber those, especially the, you know, the full-time. Just the, you know, the part-time or the temporary employees, that's just harder to predict. So we typically don't encumber those types of salaries. So if it's a zero, it's just because, like, for example, like even in my account, the auditor, retirement, sick leave, buyback, it's not encumbered because I had one employee retire. I'm not expecting any other employees to retire from my office. So there wouldn't be an encumbrance in that account. So this account here, this is from, the retirement in my office. So that's the reason why. And it was, you know, obviously, I couldn't project it. I wasn't aware of it until during the fiscal year. So there would be no encumbrance because that's just a one-time charge.
That makes sense. What I'm not making sense of is in the library, 866 encumbered. That's what we anticipate would be the expenses on salaries for the remainder of the year. And yet we're
Correct,
also,
correct.
with that,
If that amount's correct.
right, we haven't spent 866, we've encumbered it,
No,
but we have
correct.
a remaining budget of negative 20,000. So are you saying we have a deficit of 20,000 now, or a projected deficit?
Projected deficit. So the last column, some are projected and some are actual. So like for example, in my office, the retirement sick leave, that's an actual deficit in that account, in that line. I'm hopeful that I'll have some lag funds to transfer that from my salaries account, because the position is not filled at this time. But in the library salaries, that 20,000, it's a projected, because it's a reoccurring payroll charge. So the question is the 866 correct? And I don't have an answer for that
Okay.
right now, but it's,
Kenny, right now, so you got the revised budget is the 20,000. I'm not gonna do the math, but would it be, if you added the actual expenditures and the encumbrance, it would be $20,000 less than the revised budget, the
Mhm.
revisit budget.
yeah, it's over the budget.
So that's what it is. You add those two together and you come up $20,000 short on this number.
Correct. Correct.
But we haven't spent it yet, so we don't have a deficit, we have a projected deficit.
Correct.
Correct.
Otherwise, deficit because we know what the number is, like Sally's retirement. But then we have a negative encumbrance, with the fourth line down in community, fire. workman's comp.
That's incorrect. We should never have a negative encumbrance. That's just a payroll encumbrance error. So that's incorrect. That would need to be cleaned up.
Payroll encumbrances are very challenging. Not as straightforward as it might seem.
So then there's a negative encumbrance halfway down the page, CBW public property, $280.
Yeah.
$280. Is that
That's an error as well. That's not correct.
again, I'm not worried about $280, just trying to understand how each number relates to whatever formula's in here and I thought I understood it and then
Right,
Yep.
because on.
Yeah, so essentially it's what Council Gross said. So you have the revised budget and then you have the actual expenditure, you know, at this time. So this was as of yesterday. And then you have the encumbrance, which is, you know, the best, you know, that we can, you know, as the system calculates it between now until June 30th. So if you add those two numbers together, it's greater than the revised budget, which is in the last column. So,
Yep.
you know, so like as we met.
minus the negative encumbrance, right?
Well,
Yeah, so the minus encumbrance, that should be zero. We should never have a minus encumbrance, because usually typically labor overtime, that's not usually something that's encumbered or projected. So that, to me, that's just a payroll encumbrance error. It's a system error.
We'll look forward to seeing this clarified at our next meeting. Report.
Yep.
Can you just update us? You mentioned that you didn't have the position filled, but how are you doing in the search for your opening in the office?
Yeah, so we went out for
rounds?
2 rounds. We're on our second round of interviews, and we actually had our 2 finalists. We started with 4 candidates. Now we had 2 finalists. We actually had the interview in the same room that you're sitting in today. We had them both this afternoon. You know, everybody from my office, and we haven't had a chance. We'll convene tomorrow as a team and we'll discuss. And also Connor has participated in the process,
Great.
and also Cody as well. And I think it's a great process. I think tomorrow hopefully we'll have a candidate, and
You had
And
one
we'll-
prior candidate, but she chose not to take the position, if I recall.
correct. Yeah. So we made an offer. It was declined.
Look forward to
So-
the up- I'll
So
address your-
we're hopeful now that we'll make an offer, this time around, and it'll be accepted. We're hopeful of
Meantime,
that happening.
enjoy the surplus in the payroll line.
Yeah, for now. But it'll be to cover this deficit in the retirement leave buyback.
Right.
So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have enough.
We're gonna equal that.
No other business. I take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Emails and give you a call.
Thank you.